Forum. Welcome to the July Volunteer Forum, coming to you from Berriwillock Fire Station here in District 18 in the Northwest region, and I'm sure Gavin Thompson would tell anyone the jewel of the CFA crown. You have a sly grin on your face there, Gavin. A fantastic jam-packed agenda here tonight, but first and foremostly, as we always do, I want to acknowledge the Aboriginal lands to which we come together and celebrate tonight, and pay my respects to Aboriginal elders past and present, and recognise the strength and resilience of Aboriginal people in this land. We're here tonight with a live audience, a fantastic audience they are. Look at them, they're like coiled springs, absolutely ready to go. But there are a couple of shout outs I would like to point out. Thanks to Blue, Murrayville and Border Group Officer for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, if you ever want to know anything about Mallee fowl, he is absolutely the man to speak to. Please do yourself a favour. If you see him in the street or he's at a CFA event on the side of the fireground, it's a fantastic conversation to have, and I implore you all to do so. Kevin Ryan, our Robinville and District Group Officer, as well as Corey Harrison of Tyrrell Group, Troy Fisher of South Mallee Group, and of course the members of the Berriwillock and surrounding brigades. Thank you very much everyone for coming along this evening. I'm joined tonight on the panel by our District 18 Assistant Chief Fire Officer, Gavin Wright. Thank you, Gavin, for coming along this evening. Got a lot to talk about this evening. Also, I have here Garry Summerhayes, a Berriwillock volunteer, and you're going to talk to us a little bit about the facility we're in and some of the local features that's coming together. And Andrew Webb, thank you for coming on. We're going to be talking something very special tonight, and out the front of the fire station we've got parked a little surprise, and we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But first and foremostly, let's watch what's coming up tonight on tonight's forum. And what a jam-packed agenda we have this evening. As always, the chat is open, so if you've got any questions that you want answered tonight, please feel free to put it into the chat. We have senior managers and people from CFA online tonight ready to answer those questions, as well as I'm poised to ask any of the panel members the hard questions. I'm sure there's a few out there for you, Gav. If not, I'll make one up. Or likewise, our people in the audience tonight, please feel free to get up and ask any questions that you would like to of the panel this evening or of myself, and we'll see what we can do to answer those questions. As always, tell us where you're watching from. We've got people coming tonight from Warragul, Hamilton, Kyneton and Bethangara. So right across Victoria, thank you for tuning in this evening. It's fantastic, and welcome to coming along to tonight's forum. Garry, thanks for having us here. We're sitting in the fire station, or the motor room part of the fire station, but this facility here is pretty special. Tell us why it's a little unique.
It's replaced, it's a community building, not just a fire station, and it's shared amongst all community groups that want to have a meeting. I don't know why we're sitting in a fire station and it's cold, because it's heated in there. But yeah, it's replaced 4 buildings in the town. The public hall has been, well, self-demolishing itself. The fire station, which was fairly close to this area, was replaced. The infant welfare centre, which is replaced by 1 room in the front, but it's not being used totally, and the bowling club. So the bowling club have got access to the larger room down the corridor and the bar and the kitchen, and they've got a new synthetic bowling green out the rear of the building. So
Gav, tell me, this would have to be the only fire station in Victoria that has its own bowling green out the back, yeah?
It's pretty unique, isn't it, Chief? And I think it's just a symbol. And firstly, I should say welcome to the Mallee, Chief. We're really pleased. Myself, the team and all the volunteers from 18 are really pleased that you've come up and here with us tonight. But yeah, you're right. I think it just symbolises, especially here in the Mallee, but probably more broadly across Victoria with CFA and the community, so intertwined and so connected. And this is just a tangible bricks and mortar example of that, I think.
Absolutely, and as you said, bringing the community together. We say our community, our CFA, and this really is a good example of exactly this in the local Berriwillock town here. So in terms of, I guess, the fire station, we share it with community groups. You said you had the hall here as well, the bowling club and the rest. How important is it to have a focal point like this for the local community?
I think it's very important, but it's also very important that it's got access to nearly anything you could think of. Like from a kitchen with a deep fryer. We wouldn't have, and I mean, that's my little pet area, that one, but and air-conditioned facilities like the old public hall had some evaporative swampies on the roof, but this is heated and cooled. The bowling clubhouse was deteriorating. And the hall is deteriorating. It needs to accidentally fall over very quickly. But, so what the building project got split in half because the Shire and some other government authorities were looking at putting up part of this facility. The CFA, in their normal style, which I congratulate them on, is get the job done and don't muck around, and that's exactly what happened. So the building got started, or the planning got done in 2 halves. The CFA part, and then the rest of the government and the Shire tagged along behind. But thank goodness it got stopped and it all got built at once.
So tell us a bit about the district, the brigade area, the town.
Now you're asking questions.
Well, tell me if I need to know anything, ask a local. So tell us a bit about the local area.
Well, it's a grain growing area. Berriwillock's a dryland cropping, grain growing area with just nominal numbers of sheep now. There used to be a lot of sheep, but there's not now. And originally, probably every square mile, 640 acres was a farm, whereas now it's just, they've just grown and grown. And so the farming machinery's got larger and there's less people in the district to farm.
And that's posing, I guess, some of the challenges of being a brigade in a rural area like here in the Mallee, isn't it? People coming off farm, moving into larger regional centres, corporatisation of farms, is some of the real challenges that have been struggling with by local brigades.
Yes, very much so. We're extremely lucky, and I don't know if it's in order. Can I ask them to put their hand up, the local members, and you have a look at the average age of them? Come on. Surely I can ask you to do that.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, there's a few.
Couple of hands.
What
couple
about
of
the bloke
hands?
hiding behind the fridge? Come on. So a generation below me is basically our brigade, and they'll turn up. And we've got a really good name for Berriwillock, and I think this is reflected in some of the equipment that's getting put around here and the building, that they'll turn up. There's, you know, you don't have to go looking for a crew, or very rarely.
And Berriwillock's not alone in that situation, are they, Gav?
No, look, they're pretty typical, I think, of some of the challenges in the Mallee, but they're also a success story about how a brigade in the community can try and stave off some of the things around rural decline and population decline and the like. We're a very tight community here, and that's reflected in the brigade. So within Tyrrell Group, Berriwillock, amongst the rural brigades, is one of the really strong brigades that when there's a fire call, we know they're going to get out the door. We don't have any doubts about that at district headquarters. If Berriwillock get paged, the truck's going to turn out.
That's what we like to. That's certainly what we like to hear. So, a local grazier. Tell us what's your crystal ball? Polish it up here. What's the season looking like, and what's your predictions?
Well, we'll take the grazier out because I've got no stock and no dogs.
Ah, well.
So I'm a cropper.
All right, cropper. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, what's your prediction?
I think we'll end up all right.
Yeah.
What's happened is very wet last year through the Christmas period, and this year's rainfall has linked with that underneath the soil. So I think we've got very good subsoil. It will depend. It always does in the Mallee. 1 good inch of rain in September or sometime, and that'll
normally do the trick.
That'll normally do the trick. But yeah, no, we're going all right. Looked pretty ordinary when we were trying to sow crops half wet and half dry in April, and they didn't come up looking real pretty. But no, they've got going now.
What about last season?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Harvest-wise?
Yeah, good. We had a lot of downgrading, a lot of heavy harvesting, slow going, and never thought we'd see machines going as slow as what they were. But yeah, no, it came out very well.
Tell us about that. That brings a unique fire challenge to the Mallee, the harvesting situation and the like. Tell us about, I guess, some of your concerns at the peak of harvest here in the Mallee on those hot, windy days.
Yeah, I think we're getting smarter. And the CFA and what have you are sending out charts. We can look up on a chart and pick up the humidity, the temperature, the wind, and know when to stop. And we can talk to our neighbours, and they'll quite often call someone and say, what do you think? And I said, well, it's just the chart that we've been using is very good. But no, I think we're all got a bit more fire conscious because there's more machinery, and machines will light fires. It's just the nature of anything. Like these things will light a fire and they burn, and harvesting equipment will too. But,
Absolutely.
But we've got more water. There's some really fancy stuff to put on harvesters, which I'm not using. I don't know if anyone in the district is, but expensive. But like we've got chaser bins that follow headers along now when they're emptying, and they've got a water tank on them.
Ingenuity, and certainly we've moved a long way from, I guess, in my family's time, pulling up stumps when dust started to raise from the rear of the harvester. We've got a little bit more sophisticated than that now, and as you say, with the harvest safety guide, and there's a couple of unique things here in the Mallee that you do prior to harvest, and that's got something to do with the breakfast. Tell me all about it, Gav. Yeah,
so we have harvest breakfast where we get together with the locals, and it allows us to have dialogue with them and just remind them, I guess, about CFA's approach and the things that they need to be doing during harvest on their farm, because as Garry rightly points out, as vital as harvest is, it's the income for the farmer for the year, but it is a high risk activity when it comes to fire. So we know we get reported through 000 to brigades across the Mallee, probably between 40 and 70 sort of harvest related fires that we know about, that we respond to with fire trucks and aircraft. But there's probably triple that amount of small ignitions on farms that the farmer or the farmer and their neighbour perhaps manage to deal with really quickly before it generates a 000 call. So it's a high risk activity. But what I do want to compliment is the harvest guide that we've got, that our farmers across the Mallee are using as a guide for when perhaps they should shut down. And the other really influencing factor we've got is our group officers and our captains, who are people of influence in their communities. And even though they may not have the legislation in the CFA Act to shut down harvesting on a particular day, but just through their influence and their networks, and most of them are grain croppers themselves, and they will just put out amongst the network that, you know, perhaps the wind's up at around midday or whatever, I'm shutting down for the day. And they say no more than that, and it just carries a subtle message right across the district that neighbours know, well, if the group officer or the captain's knocking off for the day, I think we'll park up until later on in the evening when that FDI starts to decline, and then we'll get back into it.
And I think for many people across Victoria, particularly in the more metropolitan areas, they think about the large-scale grass fires, perhaps in rural and regional Victoria, particularly here in the Mallee. We're not talking about basic grass fires here. We're talking about particularly when harvesters catch fire and standing crops catch fire. They're million-dollar machines, and the fire is burning in paddocks that potentially has the ability to reap millions of dollars worth of return for the farmers. So Absolutely. It is big business. It's a big risk, and certainly a large fire in an area like this can have significant economic consequences on not only the local community but the Victorian economics in totality.
Yeah, I mean the grain industry is worth about $4 billion a year to Victoria, and you're right, Chief. One harvester is probably worth around $1 million, and you start burning acres of standing crop and you're watching money burn in front of you. And for us up here, it's not unusual. We can have a crop fire of many hundred hectares perhaps, and it's still not only on the property where it originated, it might still be in the same paddock where it originated. So, and that doesn't necessarily get much coverage beyond the Mallee or beyond the district necessarily, but for the local farmer and the local brigade and the group in the district, there's quite a bit of impact for us on that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Garry, for coming and telling us a bit about the local area and your experiences and your background and prediction for the season. I'll come back and let you know whether that turned out to be right or not. And Gav, thanks for the chat around, I guess, what it means for rural communities here in the Mallee.
Thanks, Chief.
About particularly during those harvest times and some of the unique dangers and hazards that we see in these parts. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they have done it again. I've reported on this particular brigade previously on their antics interstate, and they haven't let me down again. And in fact, I swear they've made it a bit of a challenge to see how many flags that they can get put up in my office, and that's congratulations to the Werribee Rescue team, who has done significant work and has been able to get some fantastic accolades yet again by competing not only in the New South Wales Road Rescue Challenge, which for the third year running took out first place, but also went to South Australia to compete in the Australasian Road Rescue Organisation Challenge, competing against 23 teams from right across Australia and New Zealand and Asia, and did an absolutely fantastic job representing CFA and representing the volunteers in the emergency management and rescue space. They got first place in the Entrapped Rescue and Time Critical Rescue Challenge, third place in the Industrial Rescue and Best Team Commander, and fourth overall in the Best Team Technical category, which led them to a third place overall in the Australasian Challenge. Gavin, how fantastic is it to see brigades like Werribee? I know Michael Wells and the crew there would be absolutely stoked that the members have done it again, and it's a bit of a combined team between them and Wyndham Vale. How fantastic is it to see our volunteers doing so well on the national stage? Oh,
it's fantastic. Look, there's an ex-District 14 volunteer myself, and I know Michael Wells and his team out there pretty well, and someone that's been involved in road accident rescue myself. So proud of what Michael and the team do at Werribee. He runs a terrific brigade, and what they do in road accident rescue day to day at jobs in Victoria. I think they're leading. They're real leaders in their field, and they just display that when they represent CFA interstate at these competitions. They've just continually brought home, trophy after trophy in both South Australia, New South Wales, all these interstate competitions they go to. They're just a mighty team, and the people of Werribee should be proud of their brigade and that team.
Absolutely, and I know certainly if you are watching tonight, Rob, I used to have a little tete-a-tete with Assistant Commissioner Rob McNeil of Fire Rescue New South Wales. He's retired now. I am hoping he's watching tonight to see how well the CFA have done yet again up against the almighty New South Wales Blues. But we love to have a bit of a sporting challenge about that. Look, to the Werribee team, congratulations. I know you put in a power of effort, a power of training in order to do what you do and get to where you are, and you've certainly done not only the CFA proud, but the Big V be proud across the country. So well done.
And Chief, just while we're talking about road action rescue, I would like to just acknowledge Assistant Chief Officer Rick Owen and the work he's doing in that Specialist Response Officer role. And we've got some members here from Manangatang Fire Brigade, and they do road crash rescue at Manang as well. And Rick has been such a supporter of Manangatang. He's coming up 2 or 3 times a year to run training sessions with Manang. He's always bringing new equipment that you and him, I know, have sat down, and Rick gives you really good advice about where funds can be directed and what's required out there for road accident rescue brigades. And that's been, really well received up at Manangatang. And they're a long way from anywhere, but Rick reminds us that they're not forgotten, and he's doing a power of work for road crash rescue, Rick. And
absolutely, and I know Rick has got a real passion about rescue, and I think you've been a bit generous there about that. He's always got the shopping list, and I know when I talked amongst the team about, hey, it might be mid-year budget review time, Rick is always first to the door with the shopping list. Hey Chief, here's something new I found for our rescue brigade. So a big shout out to you, Rick, and thank you very much. And as you say, that we are in the Mallee, and CFA has a rescue presence here.
Yeah, we do.
As well. And tell me a little bit, I guess, about the Manangatang Rescue Crew and what they've done locally. Yeah,
so Manangatang got into road accident rescue in the early 1980s, and it was acknowledged that there was a large gap. There were some SES units that were doing road accident rescue, but they were over 100 kilometres away from where Manangatang was. So there was a drive for Manangatang to start up road accident rescue. It was probably a bit of a challenge, a rural brigade in a cropping area at the time, but the locals back then in the 80s stood up, and now under Captain John Hughes, and with a whole lot of, I've got to say, some new enthusiastic younger members as well, Manangatang is doing a great job, and they're responding to a number of car accidents a year, and they're in an area where we're talking about heavy vehicles, highways, so when there is a collision, it's usually pretty serious. You're probably talking about a 100-kilometre collision, so pretty intense sort of work that they're doing, but they stand up and do it really, really well at Manangatang. I'm really proud of them.
Yeah, absolutely, and to all our CFA rescue teams, rescue units, should I say, a job well done, and thank you, and the community thanks you for all that you do. Because unfortunately, Victoria is on a trajectory at the moment where we are seeing an increased road fatality, and it is quite sad to see, and I know many of our members do attend some of the worst incidents and accidents that we see, and thank you very much for your efforts there. So huge shout out to everyone that's joining tonight. As we can see, a lot more people joining from across the state. But in particular, it would be very remiss of me if I didn't acknowledge 2 very special girls at Altona North tonight. You know who you are. Thank you for watching this evening, and Daddy sends all his love. Thank you. Well, during this week, I visited the Lifeblood Centre for Red Cross in Mount Waverley, where I spoke to the fantastic team there about donating blood, and it wasn't too long before they had me in the chair myself and giving a bit of the red stuff. So let's have a look to see what I got up to at the Mount Waverley Lifeblood Blood Centre.
Hi, I'm here in Mount Waverley, where at the Red Cross Lifeblood Donor Centre, where I've just donated my whole blood products as part of the blood drive this year. I'm joined by Sarah, the Partnerships Officer for Lifeblood. Thank you for you and your team for looking after me today.
Thank you for your donation.
Sporting a fancy little orange armband here. How important is it for people to roll up their sleeves and give blood?
Well, it's incredibly important because obviously those lives that need saving depend on the donors that come in and graciously give the blood products that we need for them.
Now, I gave whole blood today. What other things can people donate, I guess, if they come in and give a donation?
So there's 3 types of donations you can give. You can give a blood donation as you have today. Also you can give a plasma donation or a platelet donation. So the donation that you give is dependent on what blood type you are, as well as what you're comfortable doing on the day.
And we spoke earlier about the blood drive, a bit of, I guess, rivalry between the services. We're not necessarily calling it a challenge this year, a healthy competition. It's a bit of a drive. What's your experience, I guess, and why is I guess, targeting or even asking emergency service personnel to come and give blood been so successful for Lifeblood in the past?
Well, look, emergency service personnel already have life-saving qualities within their blood because that's what they love to do. So it really is one of our more successful drives, and because obviously you're very used to helping others all the time. So, and sometimes it just takes a little bit of support from the organisations to encourage those people to step up and do their first donation, which is what drives are all about, reminding those to continue to donate and also encouraging people that haven't yet experienced it to give it a go.
Well, here I am this evening out the front of the Berriwillock Fire Station here, where it's remarkably a little bit cooler than what it was inside. But as you can see behind me, I have the first of the ultra heavy tankers that has been given to the local area here. We're going to take a bit of a tour around the appliance here and speak to some of the locals that might be using it, and also Andrew from the engineering team to describe a little bit more about this vehicle. 10,000 litres. It has some special features that are designed just for this local area. I know it's been greatly received, and so let's walk around and have a bit of a look at what we've got tonight. So Andrew, I see you're up in the driver's seat there, so let me get up here, maintaining 3 points of contact at all times, of course. There you go, Nicole, just for you. So we're here in the appliance. Yep. Tell us a bit about the ultra heavy tanker and why this machine is so special.
It's got some interesting features, some new features that are unique to this area. The other vehicles in this area also have the similar features. This air CTI system that's fitted to all the tyres. It allows the vehicle you to inflate and also to deflate the tyres as you need, depending on the road conditions you're experiencing.
And that's particularly important, for, as you say, for the Mallee when they're out fighting fires in the sand.
Yes.
And where you have normal tyre pressures and the like, they would just simply get bogged. And so this truck is fitted with special controls that allows the driver to inflate and deflate the tyres before going into that environment, don't they?
That's just up here. So it's all automatic. You can preset the levels that you want, and then just at a press of a button, it'll go up or down.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the other features for the tanker here, and I guess some of the standard features that you would ordinarily see in a CFA appliance?
Yeah, it's got all of the standard safety features. So the curtains and the sprays that you'll see around the vehicle, that's standard on all of our tankers. It has the set of pump controls inside the cabin and also on the deck and at the rear. It also has a front-mounted monitor, so that's operated through the joystick here, and that's mounted on the bull bar. And it has a number of other standard features: the deck area at the back, and of course the pump, the hose reels, and so on.
Now, Gary spoke about on the panel about some of the unique nature of the brigades in the Mallee here, particularly around some of the declining membership and farms getting bigger and the like. We're in a single cab vehicle, and this machine is designed specifically so it can be used by two persons, or in fact a single person. Yeah.
Yep, that's correct. Yep. So we've only got 3 seats here. We've got a small seat in the middle, but
Bag's not sitting there.
No, no, ideally not. But yes, it is designed just for 3, and it's got the driving it's a full automatic transmission. So,
So 9 of these appliances coming to the Mallee. How many in total are we manufacturing?
29. This is the first one. The second one's not far away. The other 27 or so will roll off the production line over the next year and a half or so. So hopefully we'll have them all finished in about the end of next year.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, and look, job well done on designing and pulling this all together. Let's take a look at what else is going to happen at the forum whilst we move our way to the back of the truck to have a look at some of the more key features of this appliance. We're here now on the rear deck of the ultra heavy tanker, and I'm joined yet again by Andrew. Talk us through, I guess, some of the things that we've got here on the back deck.
Well, on the deck, we've got a very similar layout to what you would have seen on a lot of other tankers. We've got the drop-down awning, the pump controls, and also the deliveries, and also a bit of access to for the maintenance for the top of the tank if they need to get access to that, and also the overhead fill point, which is on the top of the tank.
And all ergonomically designed. As you see, we've got a lot of safety rails, a lot of barriers here. And for all intents and purposes, from where we're standing forward, pretty much is similar to any other new tanker that's sort of rolling off the production line. And from this point back, obviously, the 10,000 litre water tank. We've got some hoses here on the side, allowing for two teams to work either side of the vehicle. The standard inter-tanker comms, cabin to rear deck. And the pull-out entrapment curtain for the people on the rear as well. So it really does have all the key features that you ordinarily would expect to see on a CFA appliance.
That's all of the controls there are the same as what you'd see. So the crew protection is operated with the same yellow switch, and all the pump controls are identical.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations again for you and the team. And I know there's been a lot of hard work being put into pulling this all together. I know, speaking to some of the locals here, they are very excited about receiving this appliance, and many of the other brigades here in the Mallee are really looking forward to what will be a game changer for these brigades in some of the open grassland and desert areas for fighting those crop and grass fires. Well, as I promise every month, DCO Rohan Luke has yet again done a training update for us all. He's been at Central Highlands, where he's been able to record the message and give us a bit of an update to some of the critical training aspects. I suspect that when he filmed this, it was pretty cold in Central Highlands. So over to you, Rohan, to give us the update for where training is up to and some of the great work the team has done.
Thanks, Jason, and good evening. I'm joining you from CFA's training campus at Central Highlands. It continues to be an exciting time in operational doctrine training, with a range of activities occurring to support our members. The revised crew leader course has been through final consultation this week and now approved for release. We've also signed off on a release of a number of recognition of prior learning packages, including Instant Controller 1, 2 and 3, as well as conduct briefings and debriefings and manage multi-team sector. These RPLs will require the production of evidence to support the assessment, but are a critical component of our training offering. The Respond to Urban pilot is continuing, and again, we eagerly look forward to the consolidation of feedback to make any adjustments. However, we also have 331 members enrolled to the Respond to Urban courses, which clearly indicates the need for the program. A great effort by the regions to plan for the district's needs, and clearly a well sought after course. The Managed Multi-Sector and Ops 2 New South Wales Rural Fire Service 6-day course is fully subscribed and locked in for Dubbo on the 12th of August. We're looking forward to getting feedback from our members on their return in the middle of August to see if this course can be adopted for CFA's needs. In the last 12 months, we've seen over 12,000 students through our training facilities, with the delivery of over 950 courses. We've also seen 6,300 students access our mobile training props through 1,000 sessions. And our virtual reality again has been well utilised by brigades, with over 400 volunteer facilitators trained to operate the systems. We've been able to run a fire weather course in the last month, and we're planning for a second course at this stage. I know these are vitally important for the prerequisites, so it's fantastic to be able to get 60 people through the courses, and we'll now turn our attention to extend this training further to meet the demand. The GFF review is continuing, and the team have been far and wide speaking to our members. What we are hearing is a number of things, both positive and negative, with the processes and the program. We need to work to make the nomination process easier. Some districts have insufficient numbers of trainers and assessors, and some brigades are finding it difficult to engage with the new members during the training process. We need to improve our program to better support the members with learning difficulties. Whilst the program can be run flexibly, it's not well known and may not be catering for the combined student needs. The assessment appears to be too long for a number of student groups. The hands-on training is well received, and if anything, we probably need to look at whether the training can be more hands-on. What is extremely positive, and it's a credit to both the course, the trainers and the assessors and the students, is that it's producing really good firefighters. We are working with a team to manage the Volunteer Recruitment Hub to ensure we better support the enrolment process for GFF. So we have more work to do to improve GFF. And the next few months we'll be defining the improvements so that we can continue to attract and retain our volunteers. CFA as an RTO is required to conduct regular surveys of our training, and we have just completed the ATQF survey for last year. The survey went out to 2 groups of people, ACFO's commanders, group and brigade training coordinators. The second survey went to over 1,100 students who participated in accredited training during 2022. Whilst the results are consistent with previous areas in which we are focusing, there is some extremely pleasing results. Clearly the best aspects of our training are the quality of our volunteer and paid instructors, which is fantastic and recognises the hard work of our educators on the ground. We do need to, however, keep working on our course material, in particular reducing the length and duration of courses to better value the precious time of our members. We have also heard the availability of courses is still an area of focus. As you've seen today through some of the footage, we're up at Central Highlands with the team from ODT, walking through a number of our practical sessions, our virtual reality, and working with the Ballan Fire Brigade to look at the equipment, both the pumper, the rescue and the tanker. It's been a really important day for us and connects us better to the training that occurs on the ground. That concludes tonight's update. We'll pass back to you, Chief.
Thanks, Rohan, for your training update and some really great information there and some of the hard work your team has done to roll out new training courses, RPLs, and also tackle some of the issues that I know I've been hearing and you have been hearing travelling across the state when it comes to the general firefighting program. So well done to you and the team. And certainly I have a sneaking suspicion it was probably a little bit colder than what it was here tonight, where it was in Central Highlands when you recorded the video there. It's somewhat invoked a little bit of interest here in the crowd tonight, and our first question is from Blue. Welcome, Blue.
Hello, thank you. Welcome, Chief.
Thank you for coming along.
I'm just wondering, after listening to Rohan, if you've thought about splitting the general firefighting course, because up here most of the people have been on trucks around fires all their life. They know. All they really need to know is how to operate the pumps, the radios and hazardous trees, etc. If they want to go away on strike teams, etc., they can learn the rest. But it would help us get more members because it's just taken far too long. I mentioned to you tonight, some of our blokes are travelling an hour and a half to go to training. So that's another 3 hours travelling plus the training. So we need to look at.
Absolutely, Blue, and that's part of what Rohan was touching on with doing a bit of review, and we're stripping it back, having a look at what needs to be done and where. And certainly the question that you asked and the comments that you made, I've heard from other parts of the state as well, about how do we make it easier for particularly rural people that are off the land, that have been dealing with fire for a long time, and particularly in their farming practices. And how can we harness that and be able to acknowledge people's prior experiences and to be able to move that through. So I absolutely appreciate where you're coming from, Blue. It's been heard loud and clear. I know Rohan and the team are right on it for you, including a shout out to our Deputy Chief Officer Brett Boatman, who also is looking at, particularly for the Conniva group, around some of the same challenges and how they can better tailor general firefighter to the needs of their local brigades and farming communities as well. So thanks for the shout out, Blue, and thanks for the question and keeping us honest, as I know you love to do. So and I'm sure Deputy Chief Officer Jones sends her regards as well. How great was it, Gavin? We went out and we saw the Berriwillock Ultra Heavy tanker. So 9 of them coming into your district alone.
We're very fortunate.
Yeah, you've obviously done some serious wrangling with DCO Thompson there to manage that.
Yeah.
How important is it to have appliances like that out there in your district?
Yeah, I think when I talk to my group officers about these ultra heavies that are rolling out, and every group in District 18 will end up with at least one, and Tyrrell Group, where we are tonight, is fortunate. They'll actually end up with 2. The Berriwillock one here and Demosa Brigade down the road will end up with 1 as well. But we think it's a game changer and a really good additional tool in the group officer or the incident controller's toolkit within a group. So we get a fire up and running here in the Mallee, which happens pretty frequently over the summer period. The group officer or incident controller now, within his group or her group or the neighbouring group, there will be a ultra heavy tanker there not too far away. So we'll have an ultra heavy between about every 8 or 10 brigades on average, maybe even slightly smaller ratio than that, where there'll be at least one ultra heavy to call on. So we've then got this very big machine coming in, and they are big. You saw it out there, bogey drive, 10,000 litres of water. But fortunately for us, our paddocks are pretty big, and so that shouldn't be too much of an issue for us. We've got some light country, some sandy country, but these ultra heavies that we're building, both rear axles are now power axles, where the prototype ones were a bogey drive. So we think it'll move across the ground pretty well. And with 10,000 litres of water, that really allows now us to come in with a whole lot of hitting power to knock down potentially a couple of kilometres of fire edge for us. And 10,000 litres of water, we're pretty adept at making water go a long way here in the Mallee. So that 10,000 litres will really last us a long time, which is important because the turnaround time for our brigades to go back and fill up from somewhere can be, half an hour, 45 minutes plus sometimes. So water's precious, and the more we can bring with us, the better off we'll be. And if CFA went out to brigades across District 17 or 18 and spoke to volunteers and said, what do you want in a future CFA fire truck? More water will be one of the answers you get every time, and the fact that this machine is bringing 10,000 litres of water, well, that's more than you could ever hope for.
Yeah, absolutely. We have our Blue. You've started a trend here, I've got to say. We have a second question from Kevin.
Yep. Chief, I'd just like to ask you what your thoughts are on the Volunteer Recruitment Hub. Up here in District 18, we've got a real problem with recruitment. The Recruitment Hub's just too far out for us. It's not working for us. We're down on recruits. It's a deterrent to a recruit. They can't get through it. It's not working for us. I'd like to know your thoughts on it and what you are going to do about it.
Yeah, no, thanks for the question, Kevin. So a couple of things from, I guess, for me. The feedback to the Volunteer Recruitment Hub has been varied, right through from we love it, it's great, through to, and in fairness to District 18, your brigades here have been having some real difficulty with the Recruitment Hub. So we've really got this dichotomy of views, but also for as many people as that are finding it challenging, we also have a number of brigades that do like it. And granted, those brigades are in more metropolitan urban type environments where mobile phone reception and young people that are used to dealing with those things are a little bit more prevalent. So I asked Deputy Chief Officer Kayleen Jones and Nikki Habitas, our Manager of Volunteer Sustainability, to come up to District 18, and I understand that they did that not long ago and sat down with the local district, and they come with the one job from myself, and that was to listen, understand the challenges that the local volunteers in District 18, and I also acknowledge in District 17 as well, because we're having some experiences there. What are some of the barriers? What are some of the frustrations? What are some of the technical challenges and some of the issues that have been experienced locally? And I know Kayleen came up and did that. She came back and gave me a full report on what she did hear from the volunteers here, and I know they're actively now working on what they can do to come up with alternatives and solutions for the challenges that have been raised by District 18. So understanding it's been frustrating, but also I thank everyone for your patience in allowing us to come up, listen to your challenges and also your feedback, and allowing us some opportunity to fix it up for you.
All right, thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Kevin.
I hope you can fix it very soon.
Yeah, no, they're right on it. They're right on it. Certainly, and if I know Blue, he won't let me forget either. So, Gav, getting I guess back to some conversation about in the Mallee more water.
Yep.
There is another thing that I guess happens here in the lead up to harvest, and that's predetermined dispatch and aviation support. Can you talk us through again why that's so important to District 18 during the summer months?
Yeah, so in the same way that I was just saying about ultra heavy tankers, we think it's going to be a game changer. Over previous years, firefighting aircraft in the Mallee has been a game changer for us as well. So fortunately, we've got at the start of harvest, so usually early November, the aircraft come online, and that's 2 bombers that we base at Oyen, and then at Sea Lake we have a helitack and we have a bird dog that's got an air attack supervisor in it. The other thing that the bird dog brings with it is a camera mounted on the wing, so that gives us pretty early access and eyes on the fire. So it might be, during harvest, it might be 20 to 30, 35 minutes before the first fire truck arrives on scene and you get any intelligence back over the radio. So for us to get an aircraft up early, and not only directing firefighting aircraft to start bombing the head and trying to keep the fire small, it gives us early intelligence from the air, and it also gives us eyes on the fire. So back at the District Command Centre, the DCC in District 18, or anyone that has access through EMCOP to the live feed from the bird dog aircrafts there, you can see the fire, and a picture tells 1,000 words sometimes. So we can then sit back and know how to support the incident controller, whether we need to pile the resources on or whether they're looking in a pretty good position that they'll pull it up pretty soon.
I guess the images we're seeing on the screen right now, and particularly some of the earlier ones, were the photos and the images that you do get from the wing camera.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, really vital information for us, and it just highlights for those that are, listening at home tonight about your sit reps and that sort of stuff. If there's no bird dog aircraft above your fire, there's other people that want to know what your fire's doing, and you've got to actually create that picture through your words and giving a sit rep over the radio. So for us, if we haven't got any fire trucks on the scene, we're not going to get that sit rep over the radio yet. So the aircraft is an early way that we get that. And you can see some of the crop fires just from last summer. For example, these are pretty typical and not particularly dramatic, up to about 50 or 60 hectares, many of them. But you can see a lot of them got up and were running, had a fair bit of heat and steam in them, and then the ground crews and the aircraft combining knocked them on the head and kept them relatively small and kept them to a little more than a medium-sized fire, 50, 60 hectares most of them.
And I guess, and having predetermined dispatch as well. So, and for those that don't know about predetermined dispatch, it's where the aircraft are in the same state of readiness as the brigades and the fire trucks. Absolutely. And are paged the exact same time.
Pilot has a pager.
As the brigades
pager
and the trucks.
Goes off, they move to the aircraft, they turn it on, and they're up in the air. And that's and time and distance is a huge thing for us in the Mallee. You can't get anywhere quick. You and the guests here tonight that have come from Melbourne would have noticed that. It's everything is a long way. So aircraft is one way to cover a lot of ground pretty quickly.
So would it be right in thinking then, once you get your 9 ultra heavies in place, predetermined dispatch, it's fair to say that future fires in the Mallee are really going to have substantial hitting power and weight of attack and first attack when some of these fires kick off.
Absolutely, and I mean, it's a credit to our DPC that are a far-thinking group of people, and led by Group Officer Gavin Wright. And when I first came back to the Mallee in about 2020, one of the first conversations I had with Kev was he said, we need to think bigger, we need to get more strategic, and we need all these things to link in. And at that stage, we through some grant programs, we managed to get some torches and some small items for some individuals, which was great. But Kevin was very clear and very strong with myself and DPC to say we've got to think bigger. Let's stop thinking about trinkets, as he put it, and we need to think bigger. And that's been aircraft, ultra heavy tankers, and using them in a really strategic way. And we're already now thinking, despite the first ultra heavy tanker just about to come online, but the DPC is thinking further than that now, and they're thinking about big fills, for example. They're pursuing them through the VESIP program, so that we've got a way to rapidly and efficiently refill these 10,000 litre tankers and get them back on the fire ground. So
absolutely.
It's a really integrated approach that our district planning committee has taken. And I've sat through DPC meetings in a variety of districts, and I've got to say the District 18 one does what the committee is called. It does planning and it does strategic thinking. And I think the volunteers in the Mallee are going to reap the benefits of that. And through the ultra heavy tankers and the aircraft, we've got a better chance to keep fires small which means less impact on the landowner, means less impact and time away from farm and employment by the volunteers. So they respond quickly, they get to the fire quickly, they put it out, keep it small, they're back on the tractor. That's what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations, Kevin and the team, for some really forthright thinking there and strategic thinking in order to set District 18 and the Mallee up for success into the future. Well, we've still got a jam-packed agenda for tonight, so let's take a quick break out to see what's still yet to come. Well, welcome back, and we've managed to get up quickly and get over here.
The legs.
Stretch the legs, that's right. Over here, Gavin, certainly one to be forgiven for thinking this might be the Gavin Wright show tonight. You feature a bit here. So we're standing in front of this map here. Tell me all about it.
Well, a lot of people in CFA will probably recognise what it is. So last year we took a change with our pre-season briefing that traditionally we delivered via PowerPoint every year, and we thought we'll change it up a little bit, and we went for a CHOOT style. So CHOOT, tactical exercise without troops, and we thought we'll hit all the key points we want in a pre-season briefing, but rather than do it via PowerPoint, we'll do it through a CHOOT. So we'll have a scenario. So we just went to one of the local sign companies in Swan Hill, got a couple of these vinyl mats made up. They were fairly cheap. And look, it's pretty low key and pretty low tech, I've got to say, and it's just a very typical generic Mallee sort of landscape, and with a bit of cut out red carpet or cardboard in this case, we just place a fire on the board, and we start having a conversation with our volunteers and our leaders and our up and coming leaders about what is it we want to do, what is it we're trying to do, what do we want to try and avoid, and it generates really good discussion.
Well, let's quickly talk us through a CHOOT.
Sure.
So as you say, look, we've got a bit of cardboard here. Tell us what have we got, and what you would be explaining to those standing around the map if you were doing a CHOOT right now.
Yep. So my tips would be keep it simple. You don't have to make it complicated to hit on the key points that you want to teach. So for our fire here, we've just got a fire that started in a paddock. You'd set the scene probably with some weather conditions for the day, and for our scenario, we'll say it's a northerly wind, which is pretty typical in Victoria. So you've got a fire spreading under the influence of a wind, and then you talk about what you want those members to be thinking about on their way to the call and when they arrive, and what some of the key actions are that will set the job up for, there's plenty of volunteers out there today that will know often the first 20 minutes of a job can set the scene for the next couple of hours. If you get it right and get some key things in place early on, the job can run pretty smoothly. If you miss those markers early on, you're playing catch up, and sometimes it's a bit of a nightmare and you never quite get the job right. Yeah. So it's a really good opportunity through a CHOOT to reinforce what they are. And yes, you could do it via PowerPoint, but I think this is better learning and better retention of the information by doing it in this sort of form. So you talk about arriving on scene, doing a full size up, looking at what the weather's doing, what the fuel load is, where the fire's heading, what it's likely to impact, what your resources are, what resources you need to ask for, and that might be more tankers, aircraft, it might be machinery, and also going through what some members are a little bit hesitant to do, that radio procedure. Sometimes if I don't get it quite right, so it's a really good opportunity to practice that and say, get your word back into Firecom, get it out the way. Here's what a word back is, grass and scrub fire, not under control, with an originating officer's name and confirm the address. And then you can move past that and get on with organising your firefight.
And that buys you a bit of time, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So get that done, get that into Firecom, and then you've got time to catch your breath, do some really good thinking, work out what your plan is, and then start enacting your plan and talking to the other resources that are there and getting them involved in the tactics that you've decided will deliver the outcome you're looking for.
Absolutely. So we see here the fire's it's cracked off. It's run across. Obviously, looking to impact Collins Road, Campbell's Road, and the haystack there. So again, you'd be talking through with the participants in terms of what are your immediate actions.
Yeah, there's some really good decision points. I think they're, Chief, for the incident controller or the room that's all playing that role to go, hey, there's an opportunity at Collins Road where we might be able to hold this fire up. So there you could set an objective right there. We manage our incidents by setting an objective. So that's what we do under the AIMS ICS system. So, there's an opportunity there to maybe we'll try and hold the fire at Collins Road. And then there's some other thinking points there about the haystack. Do we want it get in the haystack? No, ideally not. So we'll try and take some actions to prevent it getting in the haystack or getting into that nature reserve, so where it's going to change fuel load from an open paddock, which we can black out and suppress pretty quickly and easily. If it starts getting into a scrubby area, we're in for a longer firefight. And it's potential for spotting out of there and all those sort of things that the discussion just flows, Chief. When you start doing this, the room just comes alive with discussion rather than a very one-dimensional and one-way PowerPoint presentation.
So let's take a trip around the Mallee. Sure. So we obviously got the fire here. It's heading across, obviously under the prevailing wind, considering the nature reserve. We've got a river here. Yep. Harris Road, a bit of a water source there. But interestingly enough, further down, we've got a rail line and a township. Yeah. So what would Ian, we've moved on in our shoot. We've had some initial conversations around some of what our earlier objectives were, and perhaps it might have been hold the fire to Campbell's and Collins Road. Well, it's had a bit of a whoopsie. Yeah. What's next?
Yeah, that's right. We had a really good plan, but the fire doesn't care much for our plan, so it's ignored what we wanted to happen. So the fact that we've got a couple of assets down there, like a township with community and lives and the like, and a railway line, so critical infrastructure and the like, it allows, I think, the discussion now to expand out from just the immediate tactical stuff around the firefight to be thinking about the bigger picture around incident control and about notifying the community. So we've got a really big obligation in the fire service to not only suppress the fire but keep the community informed.
Alerts and warnings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep,
we've got to do that. The expectation of the community is that we will provide them with up-to-date and timely information on what the emergency is and what they should do. So this sort of shoot now allows us to do that, to go, there's some critical infrastructure with the railway line. We need to consider that. We need to consider what we're doing with the town and how we're going to protect that and the community information. And I like to think of it as I was taught by Roger Strickland, who was an instructor in CFA for a long time. A lot of people know him. He used to think about, when it came to incident control, there's two modes of thinking. There's fast thinking, which is all the tactical stuff about where the fire trucks are going to go, and that's just firing from the hip. That generally works pretty well. But the other side of it is slow thinking, where we think about the down run of the fire and what its impact is. When is it going to arrive at that town? What do we have to do to protect the town? What do I have to do to protect the railway line, or notify the rail company to stop trains, all this sort of stuff. So slow thinking is really important as well, and it's hard to do. And this is where I'd encourage people, both the shoot setting in reality, that if you are running a fire, get some really good people around you, because there's a lot of tasks to be done.
Absolutely.
And your span of control will be exceeded really, really early. So get some good other leaders around you, DGOs, neighbouring group officer, neighbouring captain, get them around you and form a control team so that you tick all these boxes and you don't miss important things, and shoots can bring that out.
Absolutely. So speaking of trucks, we've got the makeshift fire here, but I have a sneaking suspicion that's not all that gets put on this map, is there?
You've got to have some trucks to simulate movement around the fire, and again, I did warn you, Chief, it's low tech. And so all I use is just some red hotels off the old Monopoly board at home. So if you play Monopoly at my place, there's no hotels left. So you can't be putting them on Mayfair. But I just, place them down on the board to just represent a fire truck. And again, you're creating really good tactical discussions about what do we want to do on the flank, where do we want to put fire trucks, how many will it need? And then when a fire truck is out of water, hey, incident controller, what's your plan to get that truck refilled with water and back on the fire ground? And there was an old saying from a leader in CFA in the 60s who was an ex-military guy, that when it comes to water on the fire ground, it needs to be like ammunition in a battle, always moving to the front, always available and moving to the front. And so that's another aspect that an incident controller needs to think about. And so if they already think they're overwhelmed, another good task to delegate off to someone else to go, you're in charge of finding water and getting these trucks refilled in a really efficient and effective way back on the fire ground.
Well done, Gavin. Out of the box thinking. It's not new, as you say. Shoots have been around for a very long time. You've taken the initiative here. I love the idea that it is about getting the volunteers around the map, having that conversation. Death by PowerPoint is not, we've all had it. It's not necessarily the best thing to do. We will still be producing a PowerPoint for the pre-season briefing, because that's what we do. But I think what you've done here in the Mallee is absolutely fantastic, and a way of cementing that thinking and cementing some of those first principles. So if anyone out there is interested in this shoot style and what you've done here, where best would they be able to find that information?
Look, if they contacted District 18 headquarters, we've got the template here that we've used, and we're welcome to share it. Everything we do in CFA should be shared. I reckon every lesson, every initiative, everything we know, we want to share it across CFA, so we're more than happy to do it. And I'd encourage brigades, we've gone pretty low tech here. You can go even more low tech than this. You can run a shoot with a whiteboard or butcher's paper on the floor in your fire station, and just draw an outline of a fire. And it's incredible to watch how the discussion builds and just flows. And before you know it, you've had an hour-long excellent discussion around the board. It's great.
Chalk on the driveway, even if need be. No, look, congratulations, well done. So speaking of good initiatives and well done, we're joined by some very special guests here tonight and new members to the CFA, all the way from Fiji, that have come and joined the Swan Hill and Surround Brigade. So let's take a quick opportunity to hear from our newest members to CFA, and then we'll have opportunity to have a chat live here in person.
The Swan Hill community, the way they welcome us in here, just like we're living back at home in Fiji. They are so friendly, they are so kind, they are so helpful, especially in the CFA. It's like our family now. My name is Trustee Masi. I'm from Fiji, and due to the COVID-19, that's why I came here. There's no job back at home, and we applied for this Pacific Labour Scheme, and I was lucky to go through. I like Swan Hill because wherever we go around, they always give us, we call it back at home, a bullet smile. I like the way I like CFA because the way the captain and everyone treated us, and I always imagine when I was a kid back at home, I always want to get onto this truck and this uniform.
So my name's Michael Howard, I'm the captain of the Swan Hill Fire Brigade. I really enjoy the challenges that it brings. I've got a great bunch of people and I really enjoy the challenge of leading them. So it's been great to have the Fijians join us. They joined back in July last year now, and they've brought a great deal of their culture to our brigade, different way of looking at things, and they're always very happy and joyful to be part of the team. The Fijian leader, Jonah, approached me, and from there we started talking, and I explained how the brigade works, and we're volunteers, and he asked could they come along, and we've had 6 successfully join and go through our brigade, and another 4 in a neighbouring brigade. It's great to have such diversity in our brigade. It helps bring the community together and helps realise the different cultures and that we have, and we all work as one.
Well, thank you, and what a fantastic initiative, and welcome to, or should I say, Bula, to our newest members of CFA, and I'm also joined on the panel here by Jed, Captain of Werribee South. Thank you for coming on this evening. And Joseph and Jonah, thank you. So, Jed, how exciting is it to have new members into a brigade such as yours, such as Jonah and Joseph from Fiji?
No, it's really good. It's more members in the community, it's a good thing. They live just down the road, not far away from the station.
Yeah, it's certainly a boost to your local brigade.
It is, yes, correct.
Yeah, awesome.
Have to get a bigger truck now.
Have to get a bigger truck. All right. Yeah, Gab's here. I'm sure he can fix you up. So, gentlemen, tell us, how did you get to be in Australia, and how did you get to be interested in CFA?
First got here in 2019, and then I started working in the farms before I moved down to Swan Hill. I was up in Robinville in Euston, and when we got here, one of the church leaders said, "Oh, there's volunteer works here," and he actually introduced us to Captain Mick and the CFA, And ever since then, we've known each other until I got elected as community president. And last year, these meat workers came in from Fiji with the government agreement. And when they got here, they sort of asked, well, is there any organization that we can join that could help the community? I said, oh, the CFA is one, the other is ACS, and there's heaps more. So I had a word with Captain Mick at the Swanhill station, and he said, okay, bring them down. So just to take you for the mercy, was the first one. Brought down to the station. A couple of weeks later, there were about 14, 15 of them, all down at the station, doing the fire drills, and yeah, it continued on until probably 1 year, 2 months later, from being volunteer workers to certified members.
Yeah, that's awesome, and you've got a bit of notoriety in the local community, I've got to say, because I know ABC did a story on you as well, and I distinctly remember watching that myself and hearing you all sing when you were doing that. So you've joined the local brigade. You've got involved in the brigade life and in the training. What have you liked so far about being part of CFA?
Being part of CFA has changed a lot of. I think for us back in Fiji, we'd like to help, and to get the training done, it adds more knowledge and it prepares us for the job. It doesn't happen like what happens in Fiji, where you just see something happens or there's a fire and you go help out. But in this one, we get trained in the proper way, and at the end of the day we get certified, and we're happy to go out there. We just eagerly waiting on the day where he goes, okay boys, you got to get up in the truck and go and attend to the case.
And what about you? What's your story?
All right. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chief, for this lovely opportunity. Yes, I came here to work, definitely. I have to come away from my family. It's a hard thing for me. Yeah.
So your family's back in Fiji?
Yeah.
Wow.
First of all, when we came here, we came to work. So after a while, then we noticed we could not just spend the rest of the time stay home. So we have to look for some other ways. Because for us, Fijian, community work is part of our life. So we ask whoever, we even ask the presidents for the Swanhill community to find us some places for us to fit in, so that we can spend our time, so that this journey is too long. So it's best for us to spend some time, and so that the time will be shorter for us.
Yeah.
And to help people, help the community around, and anything comes through.
Because there's a real sense of community, isn't there, amongst the people that came to Australia, and I guess thank you for selecting the CFA and being part of our community and our organisation. And what was the best part, I guess, of the training? What did you like the most?
Oh, it is a very challenging thing. Yeah, because we came back. We always start at 5 a.m. So when we came back from work, it's always beyond tight. So we have to have this course right in the afternoon. So just imagine whole day of work, and then you have to start study from that 7 to 10, and you can know the rest of the story. And it's very interesting, some new things, because most of the time we can see things happens like burning. We can just take the water and throw the water onto it to try to extinguish the fire. But we don't know which things to use, especially in electricity. So we cannot just throw water out of it. Yeah. So most of the things we've learned from there. So yeah, it's encouraged us, and definitely will help the community back at Swanhill.
Yeah, and that's I think that's absolutely fantastic. So as a community leader, how proud does it make you to see your people, your culture, helping out in the local area?
Very proud of what the guys have achieved, the community members. Probably once they've been certified, I've gone out to the other members, and they're eagerly waiting to join other organizations to be volunteers of. It's not only a proud thing for me, but for the community members as well. They've set a benchmark for every other workers or every other Fijians that come into Australia. There's always organisation out there waiting for you to reach out and help. And this is how we try and gain their respect and how we'd be able to give back to the community as well as part of saying thank you for coming and let us work in the country. Yeah.
So have you had your first fire call yet?
Unfortunately, not yet, because it's winter, yes.
Yeah.
Probably, I guess they're not used to it because I think the last 2 days, my house is not far from the fire station in Swanhill. I've heard the fire calls and I was like, oh, maybe the boys have gone down to the station. But since it's cold, I think they'll be probably still in their bed. Yeah. They're not used to it.
Yes, it is one of those things where, as we know, fires and incidents can happen at any time of the day or night, and yes, plenty of AFAs and other things that we do respond to that require getting out of bed. So I guess you've come in as general firefighter, so you've done the GFF course. In terms of, do you have an idea of where you'd like to be or like to do within the CFA? Like, is it something that you see yourselves being part of for a while whilst you're in Australia?
Oh, I guess to answer the question, most of the visa that they're on, it will be determined, permanent resident would be given at the end of the 3rd year of work. Mm-hmm. It's like a 3-4 year work contract, and probably they'll get their work contract extended. So with them extending their work contracts and them having to learn more or engage more with CFA, I can see that they're in a streamline where probably once they finish or once their work contract finish, they'll probably be looking to stay with CFA and continue their studies. And
this really is a good, I guess, relationship and a good partnership between CFA, the Fijian workers coming into Australia, because you said you are in for a short term, a couple of year contract, and I guess the CFA gets the benefit of having more members in areas where potentially there is declining membership, but also you get the advantage of giving back to your local community and being part of your local community. As you said before, it's better than sitting at home, watching TV or whatever it is, and being together with your community as well, and contributing together and adding to community. I think it's just a fantastic thing, and you to be absolutely commended for the great work that you've done and taking that initiative, because coming from another country, coming from a different cultural background, I guess it could be quite scary.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. We face a lot of challenges, and we love challenges. So when this opportunity has been there in the table, we grab both in our hands. We don't grab in one hand. When every opportunity comes, we grab with both hands.
No, look, and with the knowledge of CFA being in your hands, I'm absolutely certain that Jed, your brigade, the Swan Hill Brigade and the surrounding brigades here in District 18 are in safe hands. So
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming on tonight, gentlemen, for sharing your story. If you want to see more about and read more about our newest Fijian firefighters into the CFA, please go to Members Online and also in the chat here this evening, where you'll be able to read the story of the Fijian firefighters, watch more videos, and again, thank you very much for coming on this evening, and it's greatly appreciated. Thank you. Well, in May, we had Nikki Habitas on the panel where we spoke about the new volunteer recruitment forum, and one of the things that was coming along was the volunteer recruitment campaign that was going to be launched right across Victoria, and it was going to comprise of a number of artefacts, being social media grabs and stills, but also a series of television ads and other regional print and television and streaming services ads, but also some cinema advertising as well. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight you're going to get a bit of a sneak peek of that cinema advertising and in the ads that will be released shortly, I think in the next week or so. So let's have a sneak peek at what the new ad for recruitment in CFA looks like.
Anytime, day or night, across the state, thousands of CFA volunteers are making a difference by giving a hand. We are here for you, protecting your family, your life, your property. We're not all on the front line, but every single one of us plays our own important role. We are part of something special. We are part of your community, your CFA. Whether it's responding in someone's hour of need, educating people about fire prevention, or providing critical support, every CFA volunteer makes a difference. And you can too. There are plenty of roles to fit your skills, interests, and lifestyle. Join us and be part of a world-class emergency service, which provides exceptional leadership opportunities, skills training, and the satisfaction of giving back to your community. Visit cfa.vic.gov.au. Authorised by the...
Well, there you have it, a sneak peek of the 60-second advert that you will be seeing in cinemas right across Victoria, but also on streaming services right across the televisions here in this state, encouraging people to do exactly as these gentlemen have, get on board and give us a hand. Another audience question here tonight, Blue. I knew you weren't going to let me go without another curly one, so over to you.
Well, I just don't like missing opportunities. This chote reminded me of it. Victoria have suddenly stopped burning out or backburning. That's a real good example where we could use it. You go to New South Wales, the first thing they give you is a drip torch. I don't see why Victoria is so hesitant about it. So if you can look into what's causing the hold-up, I'd be most appreciative.
No, thanks, Blue. And certainly from my perspective, backburning and burning out is an essential part of control strategy, particularly in open grassland and paddoced areas, and essentially as well as on the edge of timbered areas. And I know many incident controllers should be considering those two strategies where it is appropriate and the weather conditions. So Blue, I'm with you there. It is an appropriate control mechanism and should be considered by incident controllers when putting together their plans and strategies for tackling fires. So thanks for your contribution. Another question tonight from John.
John, yes. I'm from down south, Melbourne ways, and things are a bit different up here. I'm quite impressed. One thing I noticed though is I think there's a need for rehab units in this area. The southern Mallee area and the Wimmera, there's nothing, even Horsham. Is there anything being done about that, or has it been looked into? Because rehab units do save money for insurance claims and things like that.
Certainly rehab units save lives. Certainly rehab units have a vital role to play in CFA, and we're seeing more and more of them come online. There's actually a project that's been running for a little bit of time now, and it's just about to come to maturity, is what we're calling the whole of life asset plan. And part of that is putting together a strategy of what type of specialist vehicles that we need around the state to be able to provide effective coverage within a specified period of time. And we'll be coming out very shortly to consult on those requirements, and part of those rehab units will be part of those. So the plan will be looking at to see how many rehab units we need across Victoria, where do they need to be strategically placed to allow a rehab unit to be on the fire ground within, as I said, a specified period of time. So in the meantime, I actively encourage you to speak to Kevin, your local DPC chair, but also to Gav Wright and the team around where it might fit locally in the plans, but certainly on a statewide basis, we'll be coming and having those conversations with the districts. So thanks for your contribution. And I think we've got another contender to the microphone, Andy.
Chief, thank you. Mine's more of a statement, excuse me, than a question. We're really, really pleased with all the equipment, the new tanker. very well, very well supported. But I've got a real beef, and I'd like to support Kevin with the Recruitment Hub. I'm the captain of neighbouring brigade. Almost 18 months we've been trying to get people through, and we haven't got it. They've had enough, they're walking away. The recruitment, the hub is certainly part of the problem, but it's creating another problem, and that is people have had enough. We're losing volunteers, and there surely can be no greater objective, the CFA, than recruitment.
Absolutely, and hence why we saw some of the advertising campaigns that we saw there. And as I sort of gave Kevin an update, we've heard very loud and clear. We've come to 18, we've listened, we've heard, and as I said, I know DCO Jones and her team are now looking at the feedback that was given and what they can do to facilitate the needs of District 18 and the local brigades to ensure that we're able to get people interested in our organisation to be able to express that interest and then be able to be put into the system as soon as possible, get them into the respective training, whatever that might be, locally here, and then onto the trucks and into your brigade environments, because that's what we need to do.
Well, unfortunately, I mean, the shiny red truck doesn't have the same appeal that it used to. And people still want to, sense of community is still strong. But they're happy to turn up on fires, particularly on farms in our areas, in private units. They're happy to go and do their bit. They don't have to put the uniform on. They don't have to take instructions. They can go home whenever they like. And they're happy that they've done their bit. And that's why recruitment is absolutely vital.
Yeah. And I think I'll go you one step further, and that's, again, the reason why we've embarked on an operating model project at the moment. Because one of the things that certainly we've had discussions within the executive and the broader CFA management team is it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And there is a difference of brigades here in the Mallee versus those closer to Melbourne. And we need to be tailoring what we do for those brigades to suit the local needs and not just applying a Melbourne-centric approach across the state. So we'll be coming out to 18 again, sitting down with you and having those conversations and consulting on that operating model. And it goes right through to what a brigade looks like, the membership makeup of a brigade, the management makeup of a brigade. I give an example of one of the things that I hear out in the regional parts and rural parts of Victoria is why are we made to have all these mandatory positions? I only got 5 members and 10 mandatory positions. Well, there are not enough members to fill the positions. It's ludicrous. So we need to take a proper risk-based approach to the needs of the local communities and needs of the brigade and get real about tailoring our brigades and how we deliver our services locally for the local risks. And those more integral management structures and more, I guess, more management positions in brigades and functions of brigades are more appropriate in those larger brigades, particularly as you get closer to the urban centres, because of the risk profile of those brigades. And what we've heard very loud and clear, particularly from our farming brigades, is we just want to get the truck, we just want to go to the fire, put the fire out, put the truck away and go home. And we want to be able to make it as simple as that. For our members, there are certain things we need to do as an organisation, but our challenge as leaders is how do we, meet those obligations in a way that puts the least amount of burden to minimal to no burden on the rural volunteer and allow you to do what you need to do. So those conversations are happening, and we'll be coming out and having some broader consultations, and I'm pretty sure we'll be coming to.
Well, I've been in CFA for a long time, and we're very, very well supported. But we feel extremely let down with this recruitment hub.
Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. It's important.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that time has come where the team behind the desk have given me the signal that that it's been a big night. We've had a lot of conversation about a lot of topics, and I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone that's been on the panel here this evening to share their thoughts, views and feelings on various of topics. Thanks to Rohan and the training team for your update. Thanks to Andrew and the team from engineering for bringing the Ultra Heavy up. Thank you, Gavin, for letting us through the gates here at District 18. Thanks to the local brigade for allowing us to be in your station here tonight. And thank you, gentlemen, for coming along and sharing your story.
Thank you very much.
And welcome. And I hope you have every success as be part of the CFA family.
Thank you.
A big thanks once again to those behind the desk this evening, to Beth, to Martin, and to Brad and to Lucy. These events don't happen without your efforts and contributions, and certainly I want to thank you all for pulling it all together tonight. It's been a successful forum, and I hope many of you at home have been able to be suitably informed to what's happening in CFA at the moment. And I ask you to join me next month, where we make the trip out to the Far East, to Mallacoota, where I'm sure we'll have plenty more to discuss and share the insights of the locals there, particularly as they seek to recover from the 1920 season, but also as we keep a close eye on the dryness of that Far Eastland, Gippsland area, as they are starting to get very dry and starting to get a couple of fires as we speak. So until then, thank you very much. Stay safe, everyone, and I'll see you next month in Mallacoota.